Hi, I'm Andrew Berry and welcome to At the Bench's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at saws, piercing saws in particular. It's very important to get a saw that you like, that you can get on with, but there are so many on the market. Which should you go for? Which should you avoid? I've got 5 in front of me here. These are all my saws. I've also got a few others, some duplicates that I'll come to in a little while. And there are other saws available out there that I haven't tried yet. So what I have in front of me is ranging from really the cheapest model that will only cost you I don't know, 10, 12 pounds, $15, something like that, right up to a saw here that is in the region of 50 to 60 pounds, what's that, $80. And they all do the same thing. They all pierce, they all cut. So which really should you go for? So let's start with the most basic, the most cheapest type of saw. And it's the first saw actually that I ever bought when I started as a student when I was 18 years ago. Very simple. This is an Eclipse saw. This is something that I bought many years ago. And do you know what? I still use it today. Nothing really can go wrong with this type of saw. It has the usual method where the saw blade clamps on these 2 places here. It has a nice rigid frame here. I think it's made out of steel and a nice wooden handle. Nothing to dislike about this. It does everything that a saw can do. Sometimes these wing nuts here do wear out, but you can get replacements at lots of tool suppliers. To me, that is my go-to saw. It does everything that I want it to do. The frame stays nice and rigid. It's a nice substantial frame around here without adding too much weight to the saw. That's an Eclipse saw. You can get these in various different brands. But as I said, I bought this when I was 18, many years ago. The other type of frame that you see out there are these sort of frames. Now, these are something that is very slightly different. I'm not too fussed on this type of frame. For start, it has a plastic handle. If you do a lot of piercing, your hand is going to sort of perhaps get a bit sweaty. The wooden handle is very forgiving. It's got a nice shape on this one here. There's no thought to this one at all. It's just a simple bit of plastic rod that's been stuck on the end of a frame. It's also got these fittings on here as well. Some people can't get on with these. Some people say that the holes in the ends here do start to fill up with the Lemel, obviously. The unscrew on the side here, and the blade just drops into the hole there. Yes, the Lemel can drop down into it. You can always tap it back out. If it gets caught in there, you can always wash it out and you always get a pin and get out the Lemel if it gets caught in the shavings that get caught in the bottom there. A frame, yeah, it's no problem at all. It's a very cheap one, this is. This is very cheap. What make is this? Swiss made. It's a Grobet or Grobe. It's plastic. Don't necessarily like that particular one. But if you've got it and you get on with it, that's fine. These are my personal choices. The other frame out there that a lot of people do fancy is this type of frame. This frame has a wooden handle, albeit a painted one, and it's quite small. It's got the little wing nuts, which I do actually quite like, because again, not a lot can go wrong with that. This is an adjustable frame. The frame that we had here, the first one I showed you, is fixed. Obviously, saw blades are of a set length, and this frame accepts those blades. This frame is adjustable, and a lot of people love this because it allows them to use piercing saw blades that have become broken, which enables you to reuse instead of throwing away. And the frame can be moved up and down depending on the length of the saw blades you have. I do not like to reuse my saw blades because on a normal saw blade, you have teeth in the middle, and the last roughly around about 20 millimeters, 25 millimeters, an inch on either end, there is no teeth. The area where the teeth are is brittle. Obviously, it has to be kept sharp. The ends that we've got on the blades here are not that brittle. they are not needed to be brittle. So when you put it and clamp this normal blade into a normal frame, you clamp it on the areas that are not brittle, okay? When you come to reuse your broken blade, you're going to use one of these clamps to clamp on the non-brittle end, and then you're clamping then onto where the teeth are, and that really is quite a brittle area, so your blades really won't last that much longer because you're clamping it on an area of metal that is very, very brittle, and this is likely to break again. So personally, I don't see the point in that. Plus, it's got this bit of excess metal sticking down here. Now, when I'm sawing, that is actually sticking into my arm. And okay, if I was putting a brand new blade in here and I had the frame the right length, let me just put this at the right sort of length that we've got there. It's roughly around that. We still got this excess sticking down below the frame. And for me, that sticks in my hand. When I'm piercing and I'm cutting up and down, this knocks into my wrist. Plus, because you've got all this extra metal around here and this extra clamp, it adds to the weight of the frame. If you're a beginner starting piercing, get yourself a simple, cheap little frame like that is not adjustable. Because the adjustable frames have the extra weight and the benefits that you get from reusing your broken piercing saw blades does not amount to a great deal, to be honest. It's a great saw, a lot of people use it, a lot of people get on with it. I can't, too heavy, this bit sticks in me, and I don't like to reuse my broken blades. The other frame that we can look at is if you're piercing, because these all have a set depth throat, all right? There's one if you are piercing large items, big items, and recently I've just been doing this particular project for one of our films on At the Bench. It's going to be a cuff. Looks quite straightforward and quite easy, but the length of the silver is around about 6 inches. The problem that I have when I'm piercing out these end pieces here is that I can't get the bangle through the frame when I'm turning this around, when I'm cutting these end pieces here. Because when I'm cutting, the frame stops. And that is where this big frame comes into place as well. This is one from a maker called Pioneer. This is a deep-throated piercing saw frame. And this is ideal because something like this will actually fit through, and I can pierce and this will go through the frame with no problem at all. This is adjustable as well, admittedly, but for the time that I use this frame, which is 3 or 4 times a year, I can put up with that adjustable section there. And because of the extra frame weight, it is really heavy. So again, I don't use this all the time, and it looks a bit daft with this huge bit of frame running around. But that is an option that I do keep for when I'm doing large pieces. One of my favorite saws, and I've used this saw now for many, many years. In fact, not that one, but this one. This is a new concept saw. This was introduced into the market, I think around about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, by a gentleman by the name of Lee Marshall, a good friend of mine. And I was one of the very few to have one of these prototypes back in the early days. And I remember demonstrating this on one of the trade shows at, I think it was Earl's Court, or could well have been the NEC. And I demonstrated these saws and I fell in love with it straight away. We sold out of these saws. I worked on the stand for Sutton Tools, and these saws were an absolute beautiful, beautiful, fantastic seller. Because many reasons. Wooden handle, nice, okay, nice fitting into the palm. This area around here, it looks quite heavy, but it's made from a very light material. I think this one's an aluminium one. And the frame is made in this way to add strength and rigidity, because whereas you normally have to push the saw frame in with these fixed frames to make the blade become tensioned, you actually use this device on the end here to tension the blade, because this area, as the way it is built, does not bend. So you'd simply put your blade into place, and then you would turn the knurled nut upon the top here, and that will pull up this this end stop here, and you can tension it. That is a very, very good saw. It's light, it's aluminium, and we can cut to our heart's content. And apparently it's red because that aids concentration and the most pleasing color to the eye. I don't know about that, but I love this. And this saw has gone through several upgrades. I've got another one here where instead of that little knurled nut that you've got on the top here, we've got a simple fold over cam lever. The principle is basically the same, but with this you put the blade into place and you simply flip the lever over on the top, pulls up this guide here, this little clamp, and it tensions it automatically. So you don't have to go adjusting the knob every single time. And again, I love this type of frame. And to get around this problem of having this huge frame, there are other frames in this series of saws where these stops down here will actually move. They will twist. So what you can do, you can have, as you have here, the blade is facing forwards and we're cutting forwards this way. With the upgraded or the more expensive models, these guides can be turned. So you can turn the frame so the blade is facing forward and the frame is at 45 degrees, which then will allow you to cut forwards because there is nothing behind here to stop your piece of metal. And those clamps can be turned all the way around so the actual frame can be at 90 degrees to where you are sawing as well. And that's a great way because you still have a lovely light saw instead of using this one. So my favorite out of all these saws, I still like this one. It's cheap. It was very, very cheap when I bought it. The new concept saws, I love them because of their lightness. If I'm doing a lot of piercing, a lot of concentrating, I'll immediately jump to my new concepts saw, and we've got 2 of these downstairs in our workshop that we use literally every single day. Jason uses his every single day as well, and I love these saws. These are absolutely brilliant saws. They cut, the blade stays under tension all the time. These frames do flex, and you have to have them to flex to get the right tension on the blade. These frames do not flex. It relies upon the tightness of this top clamp here, which really means that because the frame doesn't move, there's less likelihood of your blade sort of becoming loose and moving and snapping. And what you'll find is that you'll wear out blades with this type of saw as opposed to snap them with the other types of saws. So that's my roundup of saws. My favorites, new concepts, original saw. You can't beat them. As I said, there are other saws out there on the market, and if a supplier or a manufacturer is watching this particular film and you have a particular saw that you want me to check out and to review to see what I think, please do get in contact. I'd love to try them out. If you like this film, please continue subscribing if you're not a subscriber already. And also, if you have other friends out there who are perhaps just starting their jewellery making journey and career, please, I'd love you to share this film with them. Don't forget, please leave a comment down below. As I said, if you want me to review any other saws or any manufacturers want to send me some saws to try out, I would love to feature you on our YouTube channel. But in the meantime, my name's Andrew Berry for At The Bench's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again shortly. Bye-bye.